Good day. This is visual lesson 4.3 about the lesson combined variation. The learning competency is to solve the learning competency the learners solves problems involving variation. Solving word problems involving combined variation typically involves the following steps. Number 1, understand the problem. Read the problem carefully to understand what is given and what needs to be found. Determine if the problem indeed describes a combined variations relationship. Number 2, identify the variables. Recognize that combined variation problems involve multiple variables that affect a single outcome. Identify the given values for the variables involved in the problem. A signed variable follows the first letter of the quantities except for k because it is used for constant. Create a table to place quantities which will be which help you to determine what needs to be found. Number 3, write the number 3 set up the combined variation statement. Determine which quantities in the problem are varying directly and varying inversely. Number 4, determine the constant of variation. Use the information provided in the problem to find the value of k, then substitute these values into the mathematical equation and solve for k. Number 5, write the equation of variation. Once you have determined the value of k, substitute it back into the combined variation statement, and this will give you specific equation of variation for the problem. Number 6, solve for the unknown. Use the equation of variation to solve for the unknown variable, and this might involve algebraic manipulation, substitution, systems of, or solving equations. Number 8, check your final and lastly, check your final answer. Ensure that your solution satisfies all conditions given in the problem. Check for errors in calculations or interpretations, and make sure the answer is in the correct units. Remember, combined variation problems often involve scenarios where one quantity varies directly with two or more other quantities, or inversely with one while directly with another. Familiarity with these concepts and regular practice will help you become proficient in solving such problems. So, let's have illustrative example number 1. The time needed to paint a fence varies directly as the length and inversely as the number of workers. If it takes 10 hours to paint 400 feet of fence with 6 workers, how long will it take for 10 workers to paint 1,000 feet fence? So the first thing we need to do is to identify the quantities that varies directly and that varies inversely. So we have the time that varies directly to the length and varies inversely to the number of workers. So let's take note of the givens. So if it so if it, so here it takes 10 hours, which is the time, to paint 400 feet of fence, which is the length of the fence, and the number of workers, which is, and 6 worker, ano ba yan? Ano ba yun? Iipis ka pa. Nang yan. With 6 workers, which is the number of workers, then how long will it take for 10 workers to paint 1,000 feet? So the unknown now is the time. And how long will it take 10 workers to paint 1,000 feet of fence? So the unknown now is the time. So as required, we will assign variables for these quantities. So let T be equal to time needed to paint. Let L be equal to the length of a fence. Let W be the number of workers. And let K be equal to the constant. So by creating a table, so we will put, by creating a table, by creating a table, we will put the dependent variable below, and then after that, we will put the independent variables. So, since we need to find how long will it take, or we are talking about the time, the we will put the question mark here kasi siya yung time. Then let's just plug in this given into our table of values. So the time is 10 hours, length 400 feet, 1,000 feet, workers is 6 workers, and then 10 workers. Okay. Since na-complete na natin ito, pwede na tayong pumunta sa apat na steps. So sa apat na steps. So the first step is to formulate a variation statement. So since since this is combined variation, dalawa ang nagva-vary directly at nagva-vary inversely. Yung time nagva-vary directly kay length, and that is T equals KL over the number of workers, which is W. Then, solve for the constant of variation. Syempre, yung kumpletong assigned values ang kailangan natin gamitin. So, by substitution, we have 10 equals to K times 400 over 6. Then, let's multiply 10 and 6, that is 60 equals to 400. Okay, then let's divide both sides of the equation by 400. So, K is equal to 400, and 60 over 400, ito ay cancel na natin yung 0 dito, magiging 60 over 40. Then since 6 and 40 are divisible by 2, we have 3 over 20. We have the constant 3 over 20. Then let's write the equation of variation. So by replacing the value of K 3 over 20, we have T equals to 3 over 20L over W. Then, let's identify, and then let's solve for the unknown. The unknown is the time, so we have T equals to 3 over 20 times 1,000 over 10. 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. So we will have T equals to 3 over, so we will have T equals to 300, 3 over 20 times 100. Then 100 divided by 20, that is 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. So therefore, it will take 15 hours to paint a 1,000 feet fence with 10 workers. Example number 2. The frequency of vibration of a guitar varies directly as the square root of the tension applied to a string and inversely as the length of the string. If the frequency is 40 vibrations per second or hertz when the tension is 25 pounds and the length of the string is 3 feet, find the frequency when the tension is 36 pounds and the string is 4 feet long. So, first thing we need to identify are the quantities that varies directly and that varies inversely. So that is the frequency, which varies directly to with tensions to the tensions and varies inversely to the length. So by the given, let's take note all the givens. Sabi dito, the frequency is 40 hertz when the tension is 25 pounds and the length of the string is 3 feet. Then find the frequency. So the unknown here is the frequency of vibration of a guitar when the tension is 36 pounds and the string is 4 feet long. So as required, we need to assign variables for these quantities. So let F be equal to frequency of vibration of a guitar, T be equal to the tension applied to a string, L be equal to the length of a string, and K be equal to the constant. So by creating a table, we will put the dependent variable F below, and then we will just put the two independent variables above and we will just put the two independent variables. So since the unknown is finding the frequency, we will put here the question mark. And then we will just input this given to our table. So the frequency is 40, the tension is 25 and 36, the length is 3 feet and 4 feet. since we already completed this, we may now proceed to the 4 steps. We may now proceed to step 1, which is formulate a variation statement. So since the frequency varies directly as the square root, take note of the word square root of the tension, and inversely as the length. So the mathematical equation is F equals to K squared of T over S. Then, solving for constant of variation, we will use this one, the complete assigned values of the quantities. So, by substitution, we have 40 equals K squared of 25 over 3. Square root of 25 is 5. So, we will have 40 equals K times 5 over 3. Then, 5 and 3 are not divisible to each other, so we will just multiply 3 by 40. So, we have 5K equals to 40 times 3. That is 120 equals to 5K. Then divide 5K both sides of the equation. And then we will have K equals to 24. Now, now, let's write the equation of variation. So we have F equals to 24 square root of T over S. Then step 4, let's solve for the unknown. Since ang unknown nga ay frequency, we will just substitute the value of T and S. So we have F equals to 24 times square root of 36 over 4. Square root of 36 is 6. So we have 24 times 6 over 4. Ito, gagawin ulit natin yung technique para hindi na tayo gagawin natin ulit yung technique na cross cancellation para hindi na tayo masyadong mag-divide at mag-multiply ng mga malalaking numbers. Since 24 and 4 are divisible to each other, pag dinivide mo yan, 24 divided by 4, ang sagot ay 6. At ito, sa 4 dito, magiging 1 na lang. So, ang 6, i-multiply na natin sa 6, ang sagot dyan ay 36. Therefore, the frequency of vibration of a guitar is 36 Hertz when the tension of the string is 36 pounds and its length is 4 feet long. Alright? And next example, suppose that the maximum weight that a certain type of rectangular beam can support varies jointly as its width and the square of its height and inversely as its length. If the beam is 4 inches wide, 3 inches high, 18 feet long, can support a maximum of, yun lang, mali. Illustrative example number 3. Suppose that the maximum weight that a certain type of rectangular beam can support varies joint can support suppose that the Illustrative example number 3. Suppose that the maximum weight that a certain type of rectangular beam can support varies jointly as its width and the square of its height and inversely as its length. If the beam is 4 inches wide, 3 inches high, 18 feet long, can support a maximum of 6 tons, what is the maximum weight that could be supported by a beam that is 7 inches wide, 4 inches high, and 6 feet long? So let's identify the quantities that varies jointly and that varies inversely. So the dependent variable is the maximum weight, which varies jointly with its width and its height, and varies inversely to its length. So the given, let's identify the given. If the beam is 4 inches wide, so we are talking about the width, 3 inches high, 3 inches high, 18 feet long. Bakit labis kitang mahal? Isa ka na lang, nagkamali ka pa. If the beam is 4 inches wide, 3 inches high, 18 feet long, can support a maximum of 6 tons. What is the maximum weight? Uh, what is the maximum weight that could be supported by a beam that is 7 inches? Mali. And the next given is what is the maximum weight that could be supported by a beam that is 7 inches wide, 4 inches high, and 6 feet long? So the unknown is the maximum weight of a rectangular beam. So as required, we need to denote, we need to assign variables for these particular quantities. So we let M be equal to maximum weight, W be equal to width of rectangular beam, H be equal to the height of rectangular beam, L be equal to the length of a rectangular beam, and K be equal to the constant. And then let's create a table. So we will put the dependent variable maximum weight here, and then we will just input the 3 independent variables above. So since since ano yun? Since the unknown is the maximum weight that could be support the since the unknown is the maximum weight of a rectangular beam, we will put here the question mark, and then we will just copy this given and input it in our table. So maximum weight is 6 tons, width is 4 inches, 7 inches, height is 3 inches, 4 inches, and length is 18 feet, 6 feet. Then, since we already completed this, we can now go to the steps to solve for we can now proceed to the steps to solve for the unknown to solve for the unknown. The first one is to formulate a variation statement. So since the maximum weight varies jointly with its width and the square of its height, take note of the word square of its height. So that is M is equal to that is M is equal to KWH squared and inversely as its length over L. So this is the mathematical equation of this problem. Then finding the constant of variation, we will just we will use this kasi sila yung kompleto na value, and then substitute it to the variation statement. So we have and substitute it to the mathematical equation. We have 6 equals k times 4 times 3 squared equals to 18. So let's just simplify further. 3 squared is 9. Then multiply 4 by 9, that is 36. And we know that 36 is divisible by 18. So 36 divided by 18, that is 2. And then we have 2k, and then we have now k times 2, that is 2k. So we have 6 equals to 2k. Then divide both sides by 2, so k is equals to 3. 3. So then, let's rewrite the equation of variation. Ayun lang. So let's rewrite the equation. So So let's identify the equation of variation. So since k is 3, all we have to do is to replace the value of 3. So we have m equals to 3wh squared over L. Then solve for the unknown. The unknown is the maximum weight. All we have, this one, m. So all we have to do is to replace to replace, substitute, all we have to do is to substitute the given values of wh and L. So we have we have m equals 3 times 7 times 4 squared. Let's simplify it further. 4 squared is 16. Then, then, the tech, then, para hindi na tayo mag-multiply ng malaki pang number, mag-cross cancellation na tayo since 3 and 6 are divisible by each other. So 3, ay hindi pala. So 3 times 7 times 16, that is 336 over 6. And if we divide 336 by 6, it is equal, and the quotient, ayan. If we divide 336 over 6, and the quotient is equal to 56. Therefore, ayan. 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 That is equal to 56. Pwede rin natin gawin ito para mas mabilis, para hindi tayo mag-multiply, para hindi tayo mag-multiply ng malaking number at mag-divide ng malaking number, pwedeng gawin natin ito. Yung 3 ay divisible by 6, so pag dinivide natin yan, 3 divided by 3 may 1 na lang, pero ang 6 divided by 3 may 2. Ngayon, yung 2 ay divisible sa 16, pag dinivide natin sa 16 by 2, mayroong 8. Tama? Ngayon, 7 times 8 is 56. So, mas madali sana itong cross cancellation kung siya ay mamamaster nyo. So, therefore, the maximum weight that a certain rectangular beam can support is 56 tons when it is 7 inches wide, 4 inches high, and 6 feet long. Ayan. Did you understand solving problems involving combined variation? So if you have difficulties, you may take down. If you have difficulties, write it down, and then review your interactive ebook. Then review this visual lesson again. So thank you. I hope you understand well our topic about variation.